Hey, this is Rudy Ellis, CEO of Switchboard Live, and I'm here with one of our Switchboard users. And we're going to sit down and talk a little bit about multi-streaming and how they've leveraged to use Switchboard Cloud. For people who don't know what Switchboard does, we've created this awesome platform called Switchboard Cloud that makes it super easy for you to get your live video, whether you're streaming to Facebook, to YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, you name it, to all of your social destinations all at the same time. And so we thought it'd be great to talk to people that are using our product, right? Figure out why they're using it, how it's benefiting them, and also just see what it's done, now that they've used the product. Without further ado, I'd love to bring in Alex Burdine of the Community Podcast. Hey, Alex.
Hey, Rudy, how are you?
Great. Thanks for joining us today. Love to hear all about what your podcast is about. So tell the viewing audience what your podcast is about.
Sure. Yeah, it's a pretty niche podcast, but it's a podcast about the television show Community, which was on NBC a couple years ago at this point. I started the podcast about a year ago and built up an audience of kind of 4,000 or 5,000 listeners an episode at this point, which is I'm pretty proud about. Yeah, it started with this desire to know more about the TV writing process. I love characters, I love stories, and I love the jokes that make the episode so rich. And so I just reached out to one of the TV writers, and they said yes, I'd love to come on, and more have come on, and now I'm interviewing the cast and crew.
That's awesome. It's pretty cool to be able to take something you're super interested about, start a podcast about it, and then actually technically go behind the scenes, right? Not many people can say they have the ability to do that. So by doing this, what's been like your biggest surprise of just, having this podcast, your I guess your experience? Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. I'm continually surprised with how nice everyone is. You think Hollywood folk and, you have preconceived notions, but they've treated me so well that I feel like a part of the family. Ken Jeong is, on TV everywhere these days, and he's like, "Oh, you're part of the Community family," and so it's amazing to feel that love. But I think it's part of the podcast that I have. The structure is I have them tell me stories, tell me about their backgrounds, and ultimately the real versions of themselves come out, and they're genuinely wonderful people. But I'm also surprised about, how many people have been watching or listening to the podcast. I've reached as many as 6,000 people, some of these episodes at this point. Yeah. And so I'm pretty proud of that. It's a great accomplishment. I certainly take some credit, but mostly it's just how much the people who love this show love the content and love the people and the characters. So, I love the community as we call it. Yeah.
The community. Did you and so initially you just make sure it was a traditional podcast, just audio only, correct?
Yeah, I mean never thought to kind of bring it to that level. I'd used Zoom a little bit before, and so I feel pretty comfortable now. Mostly you can see my podcast mic here. I love talking into a mic, but I've been on video enough to feel comfortable talking, but I never thought about using it as an extension of the podcast or bringing on video of the guests themselves. We've my experience now is I've used Facebook and I've used YouTube a little bit, so I'm familiar with that experience. But it wasn't until I met you and Alex of Switchboard fame, and that it really made sense for me to go, should I augment this podcast? Can I expand the audience with video? So yeah, that's kind of the background.
That's awesome. That's actually a good tie-in. I don't know how many people know about, obviously, the Community Podcast, which is, pretty cool. So if you guys haven't heard about it, definitely check it out. But not only are you an avid community podcaster, but you're also an employee of Switchboard, right? So you're kind of like the hair club for men, right? Not only are you a member, but
yeah,
you're also
exactly.
So
yeah, that's right.
Hear, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, during the interview process, we had talked about, video, and, I knew what the company was about, but it really piqued my interest of like, well, wait a second, maybe I can do something with video. And now I'm multi-streaming all the time. And I love working on the product as much as I love using the product. So it was made perfect sense for me to have this conversation with you.
That's cool. So let me try to understand. So prior to joining Switchboard as a team member, had your podcast, you dabbled with Zoom, you dabbled with Facebook, you dabbled with YouTube, but you never really, I guess, thought about this phenomena around multi-streaming, right? So I'd love to hear now that you've had, a couple streams under your belt and you leveraged it. Like, what does multi-streaming, mean to you?
Yeah, it means a few things. First of all, it means reach. I'm reaching more people than I ever did before. As I said, there are people who follow me on Twitter and Instagram and that kind of thing, and they'll reach out and say, "Hey, I love your podcast. I haven't really listened to a ton of it." So one thing I did, I created little mini versions of the podcast and called them "Too Long Didn't Listen," and made little videos and put them on YouTube so people can kind of listen to little segments of the episodes. And so I was like, I knew video made sense for us, but it's because podcasts are great, but I mean, you got to sit down for an hour. It's how long I have the episodes, and but video is just much more engaging. You can see something, all of your senses are engaged with it. So adding multi-streaming just means now there's so many more people who are watching and checking out the podcast. I'm on Facebook sometimes, I'm on Instagram sometimes, but Twitter is mostly where you'd find me. And, I'm able to reach, into these other segments that I didn't have before.
How often are you going live?
Well, I'm going live, almost every week now. It's, that's what the biggest thing for me, it's meant some behavior change so that I'm doing more live video. I'm doing more video than I am actual podcasting at this point because it's fun. It's fun to just jump on and with a couple of other people from the community and, interview, actually I've had some podcasts turn into video podcasts. And so I've had a couple episodes where I've got to talk with some of the cast face to face,
Awesome.
So yeah, it's been really great.
So it sounds like Switchboard and multi-streaming and using the product has had a positive, negative, impact on your podcasting experience.
Sure. Yeah. When it comes to podcasting, it's been a great experience. The Switchboard is just when I think about now engaging my listeners, the video is the first thing I think of because I can just it's fun, turn it on. There's a ton of work that goes into actually editing the podcast. When it comes to video, I'm fine with just kind of being myself and letting it be out there, and doing the live thing it's really, it's tactile. It's you get immediate response from people who are watching and their questions and that kind of thing. But I think the biggest thing in my kind of corner of the world with community, we have a kind of a bunch of creators who are in the space, and they're all supporting the show in unique ways. And what I've done is I've invited them on my podcast, my video casting, and now we're doing like monthly live streams with 4 or 5 people from the community, talking to fans, just having a good time. And that's where the StreamShare functionality has been a game changer for us.
StreamShare. So maybe talk a little bit more about that. What exactly is StreamShare? What has that done for you? Do you have any like recent, obviously use cases that you could talk about that StreamShare has helped out a ton?
Yeah, for sure. So what StreamShare does, as now I'm talking as a user and as an employee, but what StreamShare does is it allows me to take my video feed and send it on to other participants' feeds. So take this. So we've got 4 or 5 people on a Zoom call, and I'm able to send that feed not just to my Twitter, not just to my Facebook, not just to my YouTube, but I'm able through StreamShare to authorize their account. We send an email. There's no password sharing. There's no account sharing. My participants, add their accounts. So this last time I had three extra Twitter accounts and a YouTube account. Excuse me. And I normally get 500 viewers from my Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. I increased the viewership 4 times, up to over 2,000 viewers through the aggregated viewers of all the stream shares. So, I mean, it's a win-win for me because I'm increasing the number of people seeing who I am, but it's a really win-win for the other participants because they're not pointing just back to my stream feeds. They're pointing to their own Twitter accounts and saying, hey, I'm on this thing, come watch me, send us questions and we'll engage. And so, I honestly, it's everyone is thrilled to be participating in it on a monthly basis, and the viewership has grown. And so, yeah, it's great.
It's awesome, man. It's good to hear that StreamShare has had that much of an impact and really allowed you to, I guess, include your participants and be a part of their stream and allow you to tap into their audience. I think that is definitely something where, now we're in the CEO hat is where we see us going as a business, right? Being able to have folks think about, like, how do I incorporate audiences outside of my normal audience that probably cares about the content I'm producing? How do I tap into them? How do I reach them, much easier? So, no, I agree. That's a great use case there.
Yeah, I'm the one that's normally asking questions. It's funny to be on this end of it, but I've got I pointed out how StreamShare has been a game changer to me. How else do you see people using StreamShare?
Aha! So now you're flipping the script, huh? Asking me a question. Well, so I think what you mentioned is 100% like the intention for StreamShare, making it really easy for people to be a part of your stream, from a security standpoint, from password, because think about it, right? Like, could you imagine asking someone for their YouTube login or having them make you an admin on their Facebook page? Like, that could get, probably pretty hairy. But to really answer your question, the way we see StreamShare, especially if you think about when you're doing a live event or a live stream, you want to promote it, right? So you want to make sure that people know that, this Friday at 5 o'clock, this event's going to happen. And so we've created the StreamShare feature where we've taken it a next level, and now we allow you to build like this branded page where. Now imagine you had this community branded page where it makes it even easier for your participants, whether they're cast members or crew members, to opt in their social as well. And so you can have kind of like this look and feel that fits on par with your platform, fits on par with your community, right? And it's just an easier way for folks to be able to opt in and say, yes, we want to be a part of the stream. We want to carry this content. We want to engage with our micro network or our own community, as well. So I think those are definitely some of the things that we see from leveraging StreamShare perspective. And then one of the benefits, back to the audience side is now that you have, these additional channels, it's a given you're going to stream to your own socials, right? It's a given you're going to stream to your Facebook, your YouTube, your Twitter account. But now that you have these other channels, you can actually create groups inside of Switchboard, right? So you can have my own primary group of, my Facebook, my YouTube, and the title and the description is going to be, in my voice. But now I can also publish to these other channels, and it could be like you mentioned, right? Like, hey, I'm live with Alex and we're talking about this. So it can really be catered to, in the voice of, the person you're streaming to, so that when you go live, they go live at the exact same time. So I think that's, a really, really cool, neat feature that we probably don't talk enough about, but hey, I'm glad we're talking about it now. So,
yeah.
Well, cool. That was fun. Thanks for flipping the script and asking me a question. So people always want to know, like, your tech setup, what are you using, your mic, your camera. Can you please maybe talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. It's A lot of fun. You can see it right here, bouncing away. But this is my Rode NT1A microphone. Some people
Mm-hmm.
have USB microphones. I have my condenser microphone that runs through a Shure USB converter, so that it goes
Oh,
into
nice.
the computer and has the phantom power and all that. But for the video, I just have my HD webcam, and what I like to use is Zoom. Zoom is the best way to get when I have 3 or 4 people that I want to jump onto a call with
Mm-hmm.
me. Zoom has perfect integration with Switchboard. Just throw in the credentials, and and when I'm in Switchboard Live, I just click on go live on the channels that I want to. Kind of mentioned it before, but there are groups. I have my own grouping for the Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, but then I also have a
Mm-hmm.
group for all my friends who have their podcasts and their channels that I'm able to go live separately, which is a great feature to be able to separate that when I'm differentiating between my own podcast and the group podcast.
Agreed. One quick final one. Are you a Mac guy or a PC guy?
I have a custom PC, actually, believe it or not. But
Really?
I'm an Android guy too. But listen,
Sure.
if Switchboard wants to convert me to a Mac, by all means, please. I would love a Mac book.
So how can people find out more about the podcast? Where can they find you? What's the name of it? Give your
Yeah.
social shout out if you would.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'll shout out to the community. You can follow 6 Seasons and a Podcast on Twitter, or just go to Spotify. That's one of the best for Apple Podcast. 6 Seasons and a Podcast. It's one of the inside jokes of the show is that there are 6 seasons and they want a movie, so it's 6 seasons and a movie. But I made the podcast 6 Seasons and a Podcast, so that's kind of the inside joke on the name. But there's a couple other really great podcasts out there about the show. I do interviews with the cast and crew. There's some people who, that's what is so wonderful about our community, is that there are other people who are doing rewatches and talking about the minutia of the show, and
Sure.
and it's great. So lots of room for everyone.
Awesome. Cool. Well, folks, we appreciate the time. We appreciate Alex coming on, talking about it from both ends, from a podcast group, moderator or show, as well as a Switchboard Live employee. We're definitely going to do more of these. We're going to, really talk to some of our customers, get their, experience with Switchboard, figure out, the benefits of them leveraging our platform. Until then, definitely follow us on Twitter at Switchboard Live, Facebook as well. And keep on multi-streaming. Take care. Bye, guys.
Bye.